When I've got to tell you guys, we talk about it in executive session. I say, look, here's what the developer's trying to do, here's his concept plan, this is what they're thinking about the cost. I try and give you guys the best information. That's the objective with the developers. We can't post that. I can't give out that information.
Can a developer do that? Can a developer hold us, shut our mouths and not put that in the public? Are we subject to that?
They can request, they can't mandate.
Is the difference between conceptual and actually moving forward?
Most development will happen in executive session until it is ready to be decided upon by the council in a final product. But it will be talked about sometimes for many meetings in executive session while negotiations happen.
But that's not what's happening. What I'm trying to say is that is not what's happening. A developer may come in here and give us information and request it to be confidential, and we agree. And we go in there.
Yeah.
But then if one of us discusses that information outside there, whether within the town, whether with other developers, with other, the violation has occurred at that point.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say, is that if information is already in the public, you can't put the genie back in the bottle, number one. But number two, you can't lock us up and have, if Gary wants to say they can find himself to go talk about with other people, he can't do that because he chooses to do it. All right, so it's either locked up or it's in the public. You can't do both. And that's my, okay. So I think I understand your point, I think I get yours. Can I ask you a question on the attorney-client communication? One of the main problems that we have here is that you sign off on an executive agenda, and the top item is always that line that says we're going to receive, attorney-client information, right? And it changed last year. We talked about that, but the problem is when I've done these executive sessions, you're not there, and yet I still get the attorney communication. I get it via the mayor.
Well,
Hold on. So the question is this: can you go into an executive session and have the mayor represent the attorney? I say no, they say
I
yes.
don't know what you're talking about.
I know, we've talked about it for 12 months, but you don't know what I'm talking about.
Dan,
So
every exception doesn't apply to every single thing. So for example, if there are 3 exemptions listed, it doesn't mean that all 3 apply to every topic that you have. One of them might apply, or another one might apply. So, I don't really want to get into specifics on that, but that's how I would see it. I would see it's not an all or nothing.
But if it's notated,
It's singular or in combination.
That's a good answer.
All right, what was your question?
I was just saying, if it was notated on the agenda, then it would be required, correct?
No.
No, because on an agenda, it can be listed, but it doesn't mean that the council necessarily talks about that topic in executive session. It gives the ability to, but not, it doesn't necessarily mean it that way.
Why would the town council?
I was just going to add, so I know the answer to this is going to be leading, but why do cities do that?
Protect their interests.
But if,
Those are privileged matters that protect the best interests of the city or the town.
I guess that's not quite where I was going, but, so it's put on there so that we have the ability to talk about it.
Sure.
So if we post the agenda at 72 hours, at hour 48, something may come up that fits that topic, and we're still allowed to talk about it, correct?
Yes.
Now, hold on.
So let me give you an example. EDCs. A lot of EDCs, or many EDCs, if you look at their agendas, they will regularly have on every agenda real property and economic development, because that's what they do. And those deals are fluid. Those projects are fluid. And you are able to talk about them, or EDCs are able to talk about them, councils are able to talk about them, because you're posting that agenda. So
So an example for us is the case between the town and Disney was a very fluid, right?
yeah,
So I mean, there was many times where it was,
sure.
after the agenda was posted, something had come up between the judge or.
But if it's listed on there, we're able to talk about it.
No, wait a second.
Whatever the latest development is. So for example, if you have a development,
Listen to your answer. Listen to
if you have say you have economic development and real property, and it's posted on a Friday, or whenever, Monday. You have your meeting on a Thursday. Thursday morning, the developer says, hey, I've got a new concept I'm wanting to talk with y'all about. That could be discussed at that meeting, you have posted, even though you didn't have it at the time of posting.
It would have to be posted, and it would have to be discussed in executive
So what I'm
session.
saying is, I don't know that you necessarily have to have the exact information that you're going to be talking about 72 hours in advance. You can have other information, as long as it's posted and addressed, you can talk about that.
And what Clint just said was the Bezios case.
Yeah.
The exemption that was used was to consult with the attorney.
Yeah.
You're not present, but yet we go in there and we consult with the attorney who's not present. There's no way that's legal, Andy. So what's happening is that somebody here is pretending to be the attorney and using that
I
exemption.
don't think anybody's pretending to be the
If
attorney.
somebody's
Yes,
giving
don't
the,
say that.
if somebody's giving the attorney's opinion and the attorney is not present, and we use the exemption to go into executive session, there is no way in this world that is legal.
That's why we don't do it. That's why we don't talk about stuff when the attorney's not here. That's why we don't do it.
So clearly, we do, which is
No,
why I
we
don't
don't.
go into
Clearly,
executive
we
session.
don't.
So
Clearly,
if I was
you're
to,
making it
if I was to
up.
produce a
No, we
recording,
don't.
Dan,
if I was to
let me
produce
just,
a
let me,
recording of that,
You
that proved
can't
that.
record.
Well, to avoid that, why don't we just have the attorney present at all
What's
meetings?
an executive session, stays an executive session, whatever that is.
Yeah, but if a judge came in and said, release the recording, right?
So that would be, yeah, I mean,
So
that
the question-
potentially could be.
Great, so the question is, why don't we record it?
You
I'm
can't
sorry, what
record
was that?
attorney-client.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
So the question is, why don't we record the executive session?
Because you have an option. Cities have
I
an
know, but
option.
most cities do record, right?
No.
No,
Most cities, almost all of our cities have certified agendas. And to my knowledge, most cities have certified agendas because it's a much simpler process.
So to clarify, the recording could be two things, right? Are you saying recording the executive session, or are you recording?
No,
He's talking about
I meant the
executive
executive session. I meant-
He's not talking about executive session.
Like we used to do, we used to have.
And you can do it one of two ways.
But legally, isn't it the case you cannot record any executive session if the attorney is giving advice? You can't record, there's an exception there on the
I'd
recording.
have to go back and look
The
at that.
executive session,
The attorney, guys, the attorney, we discussed this before, the attorney-client privilege is for the client, it's not for the attorney. The client can record and can release, it's up to him.
I
It's
believe
not
that
the
I
attorney.
I'd have
had
to
once
look
before,
that up.
and that was,
Yeah,
you couldn't do that.
It's basic law here, guys, but either way, that's not the issue. The issue is, can we go into an executive session and receive an opinion from an attorney who's not present? If we call you, you're
Yeah,
present.
sure, of course.
You're there.
Right.
If you walk in, you're there. But if you're not there,
Sure.
how can somebody else give your opinion and then discuss,
Yeah.
and then give advice to a counsel?
But you don't have to discuss that.
Right, you don't have to discuss.
Yeah, you can say, well, we're gonna skip this because the attorney's not here, and nothing's new, let's move on to the next topic.
I mean, there was a,
Who doesn't understand that out there?
I
Pick it up.
They used to have, there was one, I almost printed it in Oak Point. They had a planning and zoning meeting. There was one item to approve the rezoning of one parcel of land. They had all 12 exceptions, including homeland security.
Well, there's a lot of exceptions.
Yeah, but
I'm
it was
just
just-
giving
it
you
was
the most
funny.
commonly used.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just saying, it was funny, they put all of them there. They just used always the exceptions, just in case. This was a zoning thing, and they put a homeland security exception to be able to cover themselves against every potential possibility that could come up on the agenda for that zoning. Okay, very good. So,
Another corollary of executive session is, well, who can attend? And it's usually only the governmental body. Governmental body can invite others in if their interests are aligned and not conflicting with the town. The biggest example you see that some cities do that I think is illegal is they'll invite developers into executive session. Developers' interests are adverse to the city. You may be cooperating to reach a win-win situation, but their interest is adverse to the town. And that shouldn't be. It shouldn't be allowed in.
And it's the government body, so it's a vote by us. Who determines that?
You're allowed to have rules of procedure that would determine that.
Okay, do you know what our rules are? Do you know what our rules are? I mean, I've been told that, I mean,
I'm the presiding
Well,
officer, so
The mayor is the CEO, so presumably the CEO would have that control.
and not the body.
You can make your own rules of procedure. That would be the way to clarify that.
I understand.
Ken?
Thank you. Andy's like, I thought this was going to be simple.
The only outsider I ever recall being at one of our meetings was the MDD, was the president of the MDD.
Yeah.
And they're allowed, their interest is aligned with the city, but it would be a y'all. So let me go switch gears for a minute, and I'm going to go through some of the statutory roles of the mayor, alderman, secretary, and myself, town attorney. And I'm just basically taking these from statutes that the Texas legislature has passed. So in every type A municipality, like Lakewood Village, the mayor is the CEO of the municipality. Serves as presiding officer during meetings with the mayor pro tem. If he fails in that, refuses to act, whatever is absent, the mayor pro tem steps in and takes his place. If the mayor pro tem is not here, any council member can be the presiding officer. For type A general law municipalities, the mayor can vote only in case of a tie, except in elections. Mayor can call a special meeting on his own, or call a special meeting on three aldermen asked for a meeting, then a special meeting can be called that way. So a special meeting, you have regular meetings when this is a regular meeting. Anything that's not a regular meeting is a special meeting or an emergency. So special meetings still have to have 72 hours notice. It would just be on a different day of the week or a day of the week than what you would normally do. Mayor is supposed to ensure all laws and ordinances are carried out, inspect the conduct of subordinate municipal officers, and if there's a riot, a lawful assembly, or reserve peace and good order can close public facilities. And the mayor gives to the governing body information or recommendations relating to finances, police, health, security, cleanliness, comfort, ornament. That's what the statute says. I don't know what that term means in that context. Or good government of the city. So those are the basic responsibilities of the mayor.
Yeah, Johnny, you
Are those special meetings required to be posted?
Yes.
the rules are no.
To the next slide.
Or go back one. Yeah, any meeting is required to be posted. Just an emergency meeting has 2 hours posting requirement before you can meet. Every other kind of meeting, it's 72 hours. Role of alderman. So the quorum is 3 for a general law type A municipality, which most general law municipalities are. There's 3 types, A, B, and C. Most are A. If you have a special meeting, you have to have a supermajority, or if you have a tax, you're going to talk about taxes, you have to have a supermajority. You can determine your own rules of procedure. That's what I was talking about. And some cities have those, some cities don't. Aldermen are entitled to vote or abstain on questions at the council meeting, have the right to speak, make motions, introduce ordinances, and then existing ones. That's from the TML handbook. And the council is responsible for duties. They don't have a planning and zoning commission or a board of adjustment. Some cities do, and you're responsible for overseeing that and also deciding all matters relating to regulation on land use and development. Pretty broad.
Where's the budget on that?
Budget would be one. Yeah, you're responsible for passing the budget every year. And probably
The mayor's responsible for creating the budget.
yes, and the council's responsible for voting on it, and if there's amendments, voting on the amendments. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. The town secretary is an officer of the municipality. I'm an officer of the municipality. The engineer is an officer of the municipality. Y'all are officers of the municipality. The secretary must attend each meeting of the governing body and keep accurate minutes of its proceedings. There's a laundry list of functions of the secretary, engross and enroll laws, keep the seal. They'll have a seal you can put on documents. Maintain your records. The city secretary or town secretary is normally the records management officer of the city. That's a separate statute that cities have to comply with. countersigns, commissions, and licenses, and then prepare notices like the notices of the public meetings. Keeps all contracts and bonds of the town. It serves as the general accountant and keep regular accounts of receipts and disbursements, the bonds and the bills issued by the town, and then performs other duties that are assigned by the governing body. And lastly,
Linda's blocking me with her left eye.
Not from the potholes.
Role of the town attorney. My client is the town as a whole. It's not any one single person or officer or council member. I take direction from mayors, town managers, secretaries, sometimes other council members. I perform a variety of functions, including advisor, provide the town with an informed understanding of its legal rights and responsibilities. As an advocate, to zealously represent the town under the rules of our adversarial system. As a negotiator, seeking results advantageous to the town but consistent with the requirement of honesty to deal with others. As an intermediary to reconcile diverging interests. As an advisor, and as an evaluator to examine the town's affairs and report about them to the town or others as I'm assigned to do. And then communicate in closed session as the attorney. I can do that. There's a law that allows me to do that by telephone as opposed to being personally present.
So for instance, Andy, if I asked you something or asked you to write an opinion,
Yes.
and I said to you, Andy, now that you've told me your opinion, I don't want you to tell anybody else on the council what you told me. I don't want you to
Yeah,
tell
that's
anybody
not
else
my
what
duty.
you
I
told me.
can't do that.
You can't do that. You
No.
can't keep things secret.
No.
So if somebody on the council asks you for an opinion, you have to release it to everybody. You can't just, and somebody says, I don't want you to tell anybody else what I'm doing. I want you to keep it secret.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Because my obligation is to everybody.
Thank you.
That's all I've got.
Oh, back to the council.
Yeah.
You skimmed over that budget. Who makes sure that the budget's kept and maintained and not overrun?
Well,
My council for me, that's not
yeah,
overrun.
it would be the council.
So it's their job to ensure that that budget is kept and maintained and not overrun. And if it is, they have to go in and redo it.
Ultimately, yes, because
What?
way cities normally deal with that is they will true up what the expenses have been according to the budget on an interim basis.
But we
They
talk
don't say
about the budget at the beginning of every meeting, to make sure that we haven't got any line items that's over or under. If we're under, we can reallocate money in other places. But if we're running over, we need to know why we're running over, right?
You could do that, sure. I mean,
I
I see.
don't think you can do that, that's what their job is.
Well, you could account for that in a variety of ways. It doesn't
Just
necessarily.
asking, was it their job to keep and maintain the budget submitted by the mayor?
Well, it's
The
their
mayor's
job
job
as
is to do
city
it.
council.
I'm not talking to
oversee
the-
the city.
Right, it is their job to look at the budget and approve it.
And to make sure it's maintained and kept on that budget.
Yeah, because I think that would.
And then you amend the budget if it's running over. You have a council meeting and say, okay, council, hey, something come up, I have to spend a little more money, and this is why, and this is where it is, and then they have to approve that expenditure before the money's spent, not after the money's spent.
They have to approve the budget, and that budget can be spent on a day-to-day basis according to that budget.
But if it goes over the budget, does it have to be voted on at that point?
Yeah, but at some point, there should be a budget amendment that.
Exactly. Thank you.
Is that before they spend it or after? It
No,
doesn't
they
have-
can't spend it until it's approved.
The budget's approved once a year, every year, although some cities neglect to do that, and then they're held to the prior year's budget until they make their new budget. Once you have your budget, then expenditures can be made under that budget.
At 6 months, so they normally do, a final review to kind of see where you are. If you're running close with your stuff, then you file an amended budget to the council, and the council reapproves the budget and says, okay, yeah, you can spend that money, or no, we're not gonna do that. But it's council, 100%, that keeps and maintains the budget that's given to them by the mayor, that is produced by the mayor. Okay. I'm just making sure it hadn't changed.
Can the council pass any new law or regulations without the vote of the people in the town?
So y'all elect the aldermen to make laws, and so yes, and the only time there would be a vote would generally be,
If you don't show it.
it'll probably be like a referendum where there may be a contest of a law, or you want to make a law yourselves that the council's not doing. Those are very special circumstances that require a petition that has to be approved and then gone through with the council. But yeah, almost always that's the population doesn't get to vote on measures that are in front of the council. That's the representative form.
I don't even think the general law has the ability to referendum.
Yeah, I'm just talking about it in general, but yeah, that's not, hardly ever happen. It may not ever happen.
Yeah, this isn't California. California, they put like 52 ballot propositions, on there, and the citizens get to vote on a lot of them. In Texas, that's not the way that it works. We don't get to do that. So.
You can have a non-binding resolution that goes out there and then people can vote their opinions.
Sure.
Either way, it's the vote is here.
Yeah, but, right, that's not,
It's not binding.
no at all, that's not binding.
So one more quick question. So when you say on the attorney and all that stuff, you say you represent the town, correct?
Right.
So as a townsman or whatever, if I call you with any question I have about any of the deals, you'd answer that, correct?
No. I represent the council, and.
But you said the town as a whole. First sentence on the deal said the
Yeah,
town as a whole.
what I'm talking about is the representatives of the town. Cities deal with this differently. And there's not a set rule on this. There's not a law on this. So if a citizen contacts me, which happens from time to time, some cities will allow me to talk and give my advice, opinions, but you're not my client. The town is my client, not citizens of the town. And some cities won't let me do that. It just depends on the city. So.
And I'm assuming here they won't, correct?
I don't know that I've ever.
This was allowed many, many years ago when I first got here. You could call the attorney. The problem was you could rack up as much time as you want talking to the attorney at $700 an hour. So I did. I was on the council. I was just a citizen. I couldn't believe he'd listen to me. And I talked to it was not Andy. It was the guy before Andy. I forget his name. What's it?
Reyes.
Chris Reyes. Yeah, it was Chris Reyes. And so the problem is, it's a problem with unlimited. You can't open up the floodgates and let anybody, anytime, anywhere call Andy. Nor is it fair to Andy because he doesn't have the ability to handle that kind of an issue. So we don't allow that. If you have a question, you can certainly go to the council members. The council members
Or
can go to Andy.
Yeah. So eventually, if there's an issue like that, normally I will be asked to give an opinion about it from the mayor, administrator, or secretary. But sometimes citizens do that. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Andy.
Mark?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
A comment. I think these are all reasons because we don't get an individual say on every matter, that we elect our representatives, that we have to be so clear about what our representatives represent to make sure they reflect our views. And this is why we as individuals are interested in what each person represents, because I don't get a voice, they are my voice.
Correct.
So we have to urge people to get out, to find out information, and to get out and vote.
But half of that council is appointed, not elected.
No, they're all elected.
No, they're all
We're not going to order
elected.
that. But Brent, don't start saying those kind of things, okay?
He was correct.
Just
I can ask a question just like anyone else can ask.
You can't do
I
that.
cannot
You're
now.
not
That's
going
a
to
rule.
make insulting comments about the council, okay? These guys have put a lot of years up here.
So what was
working
insulted
their butts
on that?
off.
Correct that statement.
Okay.
Correct that statement.
They've
What
all
was
been
insulted
elected.
on it?
Every one of them has been
Okay.
elected. They're all elected.
So just recently.
They were
Correct.
all elected.
Recently.
Right? So we've had enough.
Recently.
Please don't interrupt again. All right, let's move on. Let's go on to the next agenda. All right, let's get on with MDD appointments. All right, so we have 3 people that are up for reappointment to the MDD. Is there something in here? Okay, so there's 3 people up for reappointment to the MDD. It's Linda Loudon, Linda, and Eric Farage. So all have said that they would like to continue to serve another term on the MDD. Is that right?
Yes, yes, Eric Farage, Linda Loudon, and myself. And everybody has agreed to continue to serve.
Okay. So,
I make a motion to let them start.
I just have one comment. My only concern, and whether you know this, is I just think there's a conflict of interest in having the town secretary on the MDD. I think you perform your duties well, I think everything is done, but where I have a problem is that the MDD, in theory, should be an independent organization, and they should have the services that the town has. Linda being the town secretary is a service, and with her being on the board, there's a conflict there, because she's got to vote, and you've got the ability to you know, control the agenda and everything else. But the only minor issue I have is just that I think there needs to be independent there from the town services. So that's the only reason I'm uncomfortable with you up there. I think you should be at every meeting.
well, I think Linda does a great job on the board. We need to have somebody there that can keep the record, someone there that knows how the city operates, someone that understands, so you don't waste time trying to go through
Totally agree.
things which are futile.
Take advantage of my Andy's here. Andy, is there any reason or any conflict with the city secretary participating?
Okay.
And some cities will have 1 or 2 council members on their EDC or MDE for varying reasons.
And I believe when the MDD was created, it was all council
And
members.
it can be, yeah.
It was all council. Yeah.
Over time, we've got more volunteers.
Sure.
Where,
Okay.
all right, here, Andy, taking motion right now.
Your motion?
I'll make a motion that the 3 people that were interested in running or being on the municipal development district be approved to be there again.
Okay, I have a motion. And as a second, all those in favor? You're back.
Thank you.
Please tell Eric and the rest of the guys, or Linda, please. Okay, next up, we have the budget. Okay, so on the budget, let me start by, before we start going through this. So it's June, so we're early in the budget cycle. So the objective of this meeting is to give you basically the starting point of the budget. To go through that, weigh everything out. So we're not looking at approving anything, we're not looking at picking numbers right now, we're just looking at going through it, making sure you understand where the numbers come from, kind of which numbers are at play, which numbers are really not discretionary. Just kind of going through it, making sure everybody's on the same page. About 80% of the numbers in the budget are fixed. They are basically non-discretionary numbers, which are the same as the year before, because a lot of our stuff is in steady state. Then there are some numbers which we are discretionary, like the playground and things like that. So those numbers are in there, and we can kind of talk about them as we go. Okay? So that's the idea. We're not here to slot numbers in or make numbers balance or any of that kind of stuff. It's just to give everybody an idea of about where we're at and a starting point for the budget. Okay, so that's really hard to read. You know, couldn't change the resolution on the screen.
You close the book now.
Oh yeah, that's true. There you go. Just might be easier to get forward. Okay. All right, so basically, what this has got the last couple of years of budget versus actuals. And then this is just a big summary page. We have the budget, and then we have, as of May 31st, so 8 months in. So 2/3 of the way through the year, kind of where are we at. And so as you can see, for the general fund, we are plugging along just like we should be. We're about $48,000 above budget right now. Relative to the planned budget was 37, we'd have a surplus. So things are chugging along. when it comes to the general fund budget, we get a lot of our money front-loaded, and then we kind of balance it out as we head toward the back of the year. We'll see when we get into the actual numbers there. I'm projecting that we should probably spend, we'll probably draw that down by net about another 15, I think, before the actual end of the fiscal year. So we should end up somewhere like 30 or something for a surplus. On the utility fund, you can see there that it looks like we have year-to-date, I should be using my laser. So year-to-date, on the utility fund, we're 75,000 in the red. That looks bad. It's not. The thing with the utility fund is we do all of our work, all of our CapEx, the new tank and the plumbing and fixture, we do all that in the winter. So in case somebody backs into the tank or somebody hits the well or there's some malfunction over there, we punch a hole in the ground storage tank. We do it in the winter when we're only using 30,000 gallons a day. So we go through that tank, about half of one of those tanks a day in the winter. In the summer, we cycle that tank 8 times. So in the summertime, we don't put equipment over anywhere near the wells or near the tanks because our margin of error is a matter of hours. So we do all of our CapEx, all of our maintenance, all of our big stuff we do in the winter. So if we have to shut the town down because we're going to replace a main or something, we do it when the water demand is very low. The summertime, like now, the next 4 months, our billing doubles. So now we're going to actually start receiving a lot more of our funds. It's very seasonal. So we will get a huge amount of revenue in the next 4 months because the summertime, everybody starts watering their lawns like crazy. So this 75 in the red is not a problem. That will end up being a positive number by the time we're done. So this number right here is what's our cash flow from operations. This is what we've made so far this year. We're $34,000 above what we've been spending. That's what we've been taking in. The reason why we're negative 75 is because we've spent $110,000 on the engineer doing our impact fee study and doing the CapEx. So that was a planned expenditure that we've done here. That was planned. So the 75 is going to flip positive by the end of the year. Okay. That's kind of the idea. So don't worry about the fact that it's red. I'm not worried about it at all. And then here are the projected budget numbers. So we'll get into those, but projecting a slight surplus for next year on the general fund side. Similar kind of thing, but just plugging in kind of a placeholder about 75,000 in engineering and CapEx. We're going to decide on what that number is going to be, but if we decide that's a 0, then we'll have 96,000 that we'll add to the reserve fund. If we decide to spend 50,000, etc. So that's what we'll decide. Again, that's totally discretionary. The CapEx and the engineer are discretionary money. We can choose that to be a 0 if we want. Totally up to us. Okay? So that's kind of the general overview of where things are at. So as we look at the general fund, just kind of formally what to look at.